Chapter 2. When I went to Durst, the first person I saw was Dave Strider. I was understandably mad at him, but I still waved at him in a friendly but sad fashion. I still wanted to be his friend. Not only was he incredibly handsome, but it was my first day on Suburb, so it was important to me to make friends. I walked up to him because I am really outgoing and said hi. Hi, said Dave. I am Dave, Dave said. I looked at him weirdly and I know we just met. That made him look at me weirdly, but then he finally laughed. Oh, that must be my other self. This is Dave's dream self. I live on Durst and I am Dave, but I am different from Dave. I fixated on him with my large blue eyes that had flecks of purple, green, gold, silver, and gray. I felt so vulnerable, but I felt that he was telling the truth. You mean there's another Dave? Really? Yeah, Dream Dave said. We never met. I'm Stacia, I said. See, I would remember someone who looked like you. Dave said smoothly, and my milky white cheeks flushed. Well, I certainly remember meeting someone who looked like you, I said jokingly, flirting with Dream Dave. DD asked me if I was new here and explained I was, and I told him what regular Dave had did to me. He frowned. I am so sorry. That is terrible, said DD. I would never do that to you. Also, I am single. Dave looked so hunky in his pajamas. I was still horny from Eridan, but learned my lesson and did not want to make him know I was into him. I must have been more tired than I thought because when I woke up, the sun was down. I slept 8 hours. I only meant to take a nap. Well, it's a good thing I don't have to go to school tomorrow because it is Wednesday, I thought to myself. I put on a beautiful robe that went down to the floor and made me look like an old Hollywood movie star because I was cold and wandered the halls of Suburb. I thought about all the things I saw on my first day at Suburb, like Mr. Hussey probably being a perv and sleeping with Vriska, and Dave and DD and all the other things, especially Eridan. Feet tripped from under me and I fell on the ground. What I tripped on was Soper. Gamzee walked up to me. I recognized him from before because he was giggling at 69 because that meant sex.
Hey, motherfucker,
said Gamzee. He talked really slow and creepy, kind of sounded like Krusty the Clown, except very, very scarier.
my name is Gamzee.
I smiled politely at him because his voice might have been creepy, but that didn't mean he was. Hi, Gamzee. I'm Stacia.
No, you are green.
I stared at him blankly. Huh?
You are green because you have soap all over your face and robe,
he explained. And I laughed. I was upset about my beautiful robe, but I am not snobby, so that wasn't important. Gamzee came closer to me. I thought he was going to hug me, but he licked my face. What the fuck, I said, because I was understandably surprised.
Sorry, I just love that stuff,
he said, licking some soaper off my shoulders. Can I try? I asked curiously. He shrugged and said, why not? I don't like to restrict people, and I thanked him and tried some. It tasted like if pudding was flavored of lemonade, but it had lots of grains of sugar in it. It wasn't bad, but it had an aftertaste like Mountain Dew and chemicals, which I didn't like.
And anyway, it's nice to meet you, Stacia,
said Gamzee. His face was painted, but I could tell that underneath he had amazing eyelashes.
Maybe you could come to my dorm hive one day and we could do things.
He didn't mean sexual because he just wanted to be friends. I said yes and hugged him. I got soaper all over his sweater and he laughed because it was a new sweater from Chol Tommy Hilfiger, but he didn't care because he was unfortunately addicted to soaper. I kept walking. I looked at all the beautiful things in the hallway. There were stained glass pictures of suns and skulls and hearts that would probably be much prettier if the sun wasn't down. Just as I was about to go back to my form hive, I bumped into someone. It was a girl! The girl I bumped into was tall and had excellent hips. Her hair was shoulder length and her horns was different from each other. She had on a skirt even though it was nighttime. It took me a few minutes to realize she was glaring at me. Hi, I'm Stacia. I thought she might have just been a bitchy face, and I didn't want to risk not knowing her. I'm Kanaya, she said. She kept glaring. I don't like you. Why? I asked, reasonably upset. I am Sullix and Eridan's auspices, which means I ship it. She crossed her arms. And you made them fight. It is also my job to break up their fighting, but I think that they might break up this time. She glared daggers at me. Her stare was like knives. You made me fail at my favorite quadrant, and that was a really bitchy thing to do. Beneath her skirt, there was a chainsaw-shaped bulge, which terrified me, so I just ran away. I went back to my dorm hive and cried again and forced myself back to sleep. I was having a terrifying first day at Spurb. When I woke up, I sighed deeply and walked out onto the beautiful and vast Spurb gardens. Lots of Spurb flowers were incredibly beautiful and like nothing I saw on Earth, even though I saw a lot of flowers on Earth. I sat on a bench and started X to draw, but then I saw it. A cape. Eridan was walking nearby. He turned around and then I saw he had a giant green bruise. I was so upset I ran up to him. Eridan, I asked concernedly. What happened? Eridan sighed. He was wearing foundation, but it didn't do much to hide the bruise. Nothing, it's nothing, he said sadly, looking away. It was an accident. I asked him what kind of accident. Solix punched me, he said. When he gets mad, he hits me. We fought because he saw you trying to have sex with me, and he hit me over and over. Eridan sighed. I welled up with tears. Eridan, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to cause you pain. He looked at me, and his eyes were tearing up as well. I automatically forgave him for having a boyfriend. We hugged, and he sobbed into my shoulders while I rubbed his muscular back. The suburb flowers could tell we were in love and started to grow in the shape of hearts. That made me blush and cry at the same time. He almost kissed me, but we saw Solix in the garden watching us. He had a knife! End of chapter 2.